In this Easter season, I want us to focus a bit more fully on the sacraments of the Church, because they all flow from the side of Christ, pierced on Good Friday, and are given to us in the Church, especially in this Easter season, for deeper reflection and for deeper living. We saw a great deal about baptism on Easter itself. Last weekend, the bishop spoke to us about confirmation as our children in the parish received that sacrament as well as First Communion. And today I would like to speak a bit more about the Eucharist, and this will continue through the rest of Easter with the other sacraments as well. I want to simply focus on two things about the Eucharist today that we can see highlighted in this gospel. First, Jesus is in their midst, and they are confused. They're not sure what they're seeing because this is on Easter Sunday night, and they're not sure what is going on. Their faith has not yet been enlivened, and they're not able to recognize fully what is happening before them. And they think maybe their eyes are playing a trick, maybe it's a ghost. But Jesus says, no, it is I myself. I am with you. He is in their midst, St. Luke says again and again, reflecting what St. Matthew will say at the end of his gospel, I am with you always to the end of the age. That is our first lesson about the Blessed Sacrament of the Eucharist, that it is actually Him among us. This is God's very presence. As one of the Psalms says, however, truly you are a hidden God. His presence is not visible to our eyes. We only see what looks like bread. But truly, He is saying the same thing to us now. It is I myself. Why do questions arise in your hearts? Why are you troubled? God is with us in the Eucharist. And flowing from this, as He does here in this gospel, He says, touch me and see. I have flesh and bones. You can see the wounds in my hands and my feet. Now, while we don't see those specific things, we can continue to see in our lives, if you will, with the eyes of faith, the things that He continues to do through His resurrected body, both in the Eucharist and in the Church. Think back to the pandemic, when you couldn't receive the Eucharist, when you couldn't even be in the churches. You felt those graces not there. The deprivation that was there in your hearts and in your lives, how much more difficult it was to maintain virtue and prayer and simple Christian morality, because that relationship with the Eucharist was severed for a while. But now, as we receive Him, we do not necessarily see the wounds in the hands and the feet, but we see His action, His blessing, His grace in our lives, continuing to make us saints, keeping us on the right path, the narrow path that leads to heaven, and continuing to bless the Church through those wounds, that we might, like these apostles, see and believe, even if the type of sight is a bit different. One of the other Psalms says, taste and see the goodness of the Lord. And we can apply that here, because when we receive communion, we taste, we touch, and it's through that sense action, if you will, that we are able to see more deeply, able to receive more profoundly, not only what God gives us, but who. Because in the Eucharist, it truly is, as we've said, Christ with us. Like a ghost, or like looking for a ghost, we may try to see something else, and our eyes will see only what looks like bread. But truly, it is Him. We are witnesses of these things, as St. Luke says, of the apostles. And in this time, we have to ask Him for an increased faith, because we do believe. We are here. We wouldn't be here if we didn't believe that that was actually God. But this always needs to increase, because the world is dark, and even in the hearts of Christians, troubles and questions can arise, either in the things of our faith or simply because we are worn down by the world. And so we must ask God today for an increase of faith, that like baptismal light, it can cast away the darkness, and like these apostles who were taken day by day, step by step, into deeper faith, we too can do the same. That this gift of God, which is faith and which is the Eucharist, may take us closer to God, so that when we go from here, just as the apostles did, we can be ready to face anything that comes, even if it be persecution. So remember these things today. Christ truly is with us, and He continues to work for us and through us in the most blessed sacrament of the Eucharist. You are witnesses of these things, and so may your faith in these realities and these truths be increased today. Amen.